Hello, good morning. Happy spooky season. It's October 1st. It's officially time that I can bust out all my sweaters and it's not weird, you know? Cuz people look at you a little strange in September. They're like, it's still summer, like it's a little bit early, but in October. Okay, so it's October 1st, which means there are a bunch of readathons that have started. So, namely Black-o-Ween-a-thon, Black SFF-a-thon, there's like Stab-a-thon, there's a bunch. I'm for sure participating in Black-o-Ween-a-thon and Black SFF-a-thon, although I'm having trouble finding one of the prompts, but that's a future me problem. But right now I'm gonna start House of Hunger. This will be my first read for Black-o-Ween-a-thon. I thought that I could make it work for Black SFF-a-thon, but actually it does not fulfill any of the prompts. So it doesn't count. I have also been reading Blood Scion, so that would technically count for the prompt in the Black SFF-a-thon for an author you have never read before or a new author to you. So those are the current plans. I don't have any definitive plans / TBR for this vlog. I'm basically vlogging 2 weeks at a time for the month, so this will be the first 2 weeks. We'll see what I read in the first 2 weeks. Like I said in my TBR video, I've been very much in a reading mood, which is great because last October I think I literally read like 4 books. Because I just was not in a reading mood. Also, a really fun thing that my partner and I want to do for the month of October is every night we're going to try to watch something like spooky. Although I am not a spooky TV movie type of gal because it freaks me out. I watch a lot of those Disney originals, you know what I'm saying? Casper the Friendly Ghost, whereas my partner loves a good spooky, ooky, gory, nasty time. Per usual, I'm gonna go play Animal Crossing and listen to House of Hunger, although I don't know if I have access to the audiobook, so we'll see. Hello. It's October 2nd and I'm finally starting a book for Black-o-Ween-a-thon, and it is The Women Could Fly. I don't know if you can see that. I'm listening to it. I actually have already read an hour of it, so I have 3 hours and 52 minutes left. I almost dropped that. I really only wanted to give an update because I did not know that this was about witches. Like, I only read a part of the synopsis, and I always knew that I wanted to read another Megan Giddings book because I really did like Lakewood. And there's something about Megan Giddings' writing that's really compelling for me. It's almost like a stream of consciousness. So it just like draws me in and I want to keep listening. And I remember I read Lakewood in like one sitting. I was just on the couch entranced by that book. And what's funny is I didn't give that a full 5 stars. I think I gave it like a 3.5, maybe a 4 stars, because despite her writing being really compelling for me, it's also like a little bit confusing. So I feel like I didn't grasp the whole of the story. I mean, I understood the themes and the messages, but I feel like I didn't fully grasp it, or like I wasn't fully immersed into it. But there's just something about her writing that's really compelling, and that's happening in here too. Her writing is very compelling and she's kind of setting the groundwork, but you're kind of like learning about it through bits and pieces that this narrator is telling you. So I knew the main character's mom went missing, but I didn't know that like witchcraft was a part of the story. And there's also something about this story including men and women getting married, and like the men basically taking over the woman's life and her autonomy basically. So I'm interested to see where that's going, because I think it's going to be something important based on the fact that our main character is getting to an age where she's like expected to get married soon. I think I should get pretty far into this. It's only 6 o'clock right now, so I have to cook dinner, and I guess I probably won't get too far into it because after I cook dinner, we're watching Halloween Town.
Woke up wanting you beside me. I don't know what else to say. Ain't no particular reason, just hit by your wave. Maybe I'll grab a cup of coffee and listen to our favorite song. I'm such an idiot, I'm pathetic, thought I was moving on. I don't want anybody, I want you. I miss your olive skin, I miss my muse. So if you wanna find me, make a move. I'll send a telepathic message with my coordinates to you. I'm right where you left me, impatiently waiting. The rest of my day went to shit. Wrote a song, but no one's listening to it. It's only times like these when I want you back in my room. Make me feel wanted and a little less confused. 'Cause I'm swimming laps across some memories. I reach the end and circle back, watching reruns of our story while I'm lying on my back. I don't want anybody, I want you. I never talk about it, don't talk to you. But if you wanna find me, here's your excuse. I'll send a telepathic message with my coordinates to you. I'm right where you left me, impatiently waiting. I'm right where you left me, impatiently waiting.
Oh God, that's not the move. Should I? Sorry. Hello. I just got home from work. It was my late shift, so it's like 9 o'clock right now. So on my break at work, I ended up listening to the rest of The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings, and I don't really know what to say about it. I don't have a rating for it. I don't have a lot of feelings about it. I had mentioned that Megan Giddings' writing really does this thing where it's like a stream of consciousness, and it just like didn't work for me at all in this book. I think it was fine in Lakewood because of the nature of Lakewood and just like how that book was kind of set up in general and like the whole premise of that book. But here it's like there's this dystopian world and witches exist, but they're like not socially acceptable. So it's almost as if we're back in the 1800s with a lot of witch burnings. And obviously there is a whole message. It turned off. Okay, well, anyway, point being, there's witches, and they're not socially acceptable. There's like obviously themes in here about race and gender, and so I really do like the way that those themes are explored. It's just like something about the writing and the setup of this book. I just could not get into it the way that I wanted to. And also in the background, like the main character, her mother is missing, and we don't know if her mother's dead, but she's kind of assuming that her mother's dead. But in the back of her mind, she's kind of like, maybe not. I still kind of want to explore this because we've never found a body. So I don't know. I just could not get into the story. Like the moments that I thought I was in it and I was really enjoying the story, it just like never got to that point where I was really, really invested. I was just ready for it to end. So yeah, those are my thoughts. They're not great thoughts, but those are the thoughts, and I'm gonna go because this lighting is terrible and my lamp potentially possessed. I feel like it's very important that I show you this shirt. Teehee.
Take care of me
Hi, so I have to go to work in a few minutes, but I wanted to update because I literally just finished House of Hunger. And what is it with the last couple of years? Like, it's mainly been last year and this year. All of my new releases that I've been anticipating just don't hit. They're not horrible. I mean, I think there's been a few that I've given 2 stars, but normally they're just like 3 stars, and I don't even know how to talk about them because they're fine. It wasn't what I was expecting. It's not what I wanted from the book. But also there were things that I really liked, which makes me keep coming back to certain authors. And House of Hunger was exactly like that. Like, the take on the vampires was really interesting. They're not really even called vampires. They don't have the same attributes as a lot of vampires that you see in classic vampire lore. And I thought that was really interesting. Alexis Henderson is really good at building an atmosphere and some tension and like making you feel a little bit weird, and I think that they're a pretty good writer. Sometimes things can come off a little bit cheesy, but I think that they're a really good writer, and that's what makes me keep coming back. They also have pretty interesting premise, so that's why I continue to anticipate their releases, but it just never fully hits the mark for me. Like, Year of the Witching was definitely a better read for me, but it still was like a 3.54 stars because of the ending, and this one is similar, where the ending just like, I don't know. It's actually really interesting because there are certain aspects of the relationships that are formed in here that remind me so much of Dowry of Blood and like how they play out, but it's more so, I think that's just the nature of vampire stories and these volatile relationships that happen. But I'm curious because Dowry of Blood for me was also like a 3.54 stars. I really thought the writing was beautiful, but I didn't love it as much as other people did. I thought that like the showcasing of the relationships and the volatile nature of those relationships was something really interesting, and I appreciated that aspect of Dowry of Blood. I appreciated that aspect for the most part in here, because it's not just like showcasing this volatile relationship, it's also exploring how these characters react to them when they like start to realize that these relationships are volatile. So I appreciate that, and I'm curious if people who love Dowry of Blood will end up loving this book because there is a very similar exploration of those types of relationships. But the last like 25% for me just lost me, and I was having a pretty good time, and then I wasn't. And actually Jayla just finished this book like a day or two before I did, and she even said the same thing. She said it was good until it wasn't, and I think she didn't like the last 30% of the book either. This isn't to say that I won't read another Alexis Henderson book, because I've heard that there's going to be a second one in Year of the Witching, which I'm very interested in, and I'm sure that they'll come out with another book where the premise really interests me, so I will end up reading it, but I just don't know that I'm gonna like rush out to buy these books anymore. But I feel that way about anticipated releases in general. As a matter of fact, I haven't been buying as many books as I would want to because I just am personally challenging myself to stop getting books and just like random shit in general. I don't know. I talk about it in another video where I'm like trying to personally challenge myself to do as much stuff at home as I can. Like, instead of going to a coffee shop to get a drink, I've just been making them myself. And with books, anything that's a new release that I don't need right away, I'm waiting until I'm actually going to read it to either buy that book or get it from the library. So yeah, that's like not the greatest review of House of Hunger, but this is my problem with like 3-star reads, especially lower 3-star reads, is that I have a hard time reviewing them because it's not like I hated it and have a ton to say about everything I hated in the book, but I also didn't love it, so I don't have a lot to say about what I really loved about it. It's just fine. I probably won't remember this book in a few months, and these characters don't live rent-free in my head. I actually didn't really care that much about really any of the characters except for one named Irene, and other than that, like, I don't even remember half their names. So yeah, I'm gonna go to work. I also feel very negative today because I have been in a lot of pain. I have a lot of joint pain from arthritis, and It just kept me up all night. It made me really anxious, like the pain that I'm feeling, because I get really nervous about just joint pain in general and what that's going to look like in my future. But anyway, I don't really want to get into that. I'm running on like 2 hours of sleep, so hopefully this work day just goes by fast. Good morning. So I don't actually know what day it is. It's a Friday, and I don't know what the date is. This is the first Friday of October, right? Yeah, has to be. Anyway, I wanted to update you because yesterday I finished House of Hunger, and then I started Jackal right after it, and I just never really updated you. I don't know how this is happening or how I'm reading so fast, but I'm already like 70% through Jackal, and I'm probably gonna finish it this morning. I'm really liking it. I didn't have a lot of expectations going into this because, to be honest, I thought I knew what the synopsis was of this book, and I was wrong. This is kind of like, it borders the line of thriller and horror. So our main character went back to her small Appalachian town to attend her best friend's wedding, and at the reception her best friend's daughter goes missing, and the main character starts to connect these dots that every summer during a similar time a girl goes missing, and all of the girls so far have been Black, and they're always found in the woods, like sprawled out with their hearts taken from their chest. And so you learn that the main character, actually the big reason she wanted to get out of this town was because of the fact that she was one of like 2 Black families in this town, so there's a lot of bigotry and racism, but also she had witnessed one of the taking of one of the girls back in like her junior or senior year of high school. So she is like kind of reliving that moment, and she's like, I need to figure out what is happening. And so she starts investigating it, and it's getting really creepy. I think it's gonna have a pretty good ending. I love the writing style, and I've been listening to the audiobook because I got an ALC from Libro FM, and I love the narrator. I just like the way that she's playing this character. It's really good. So I'm really excited because my first 2 reads of Black-o-Ween haven't been like my favorite things that I've read, so I'm glad that this is potentially like a 4 or 5 stars. Anyway, my plan today is I have a World Hoppers to film. It's a little bit later in the afternoon. I think it's at like 4. I'm gonna make a chai right now. I'm gonna clean the house. I think Christine wants to get some coffee and go to Ulta, which I love skincare and makeup stuff, so that sounds fun to me. We'll probably go into a bookstore because we always end up popping into a bookstore. But for now, I'm gonna make my chai and I'm gonna listen to Jackal and play Animal Crossing. I've been really into Animal Crossing again because I finally like got enough items to where I can decorate my island for the most part. Maybe I'll show y'all some pictures of it. I don't know. Hi, I just got home and I finished Jackal right before I left to go get coffee with Christine, and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I was afraid that the ending might not be as great as I wanted it to be, but I actually really enjoyed the ending. But I definitely think that this dives deeper into horror than I expected it would, especially because the setup is initially Liz kind of launching her own investigation about these missing girls, and especially her best friend's daughter who's missing. There's only one aspect of this book that I didn't really like, and it was the fact that it was verging on this romantic situation happening, and I don't know what it is about like horror thrillers where I couldn't give a shit about a romance plotline. Like, don't give it to me. I mean, I think some people do enjoy stuff like that. Maybe it's because it presents this like red herring of a situation. Like, is it potentially that person that the romance is unfolding with? And no, that's not what I'm saying about this book in particular. I just mean horror books or thriller books that end up having like a full-blown romance plotline. I do think that this book is like a heavier horror in the fact that it has a lot of heavy themes, real life contemporary themes on top of the horror. But overall, I was a really big fan of the writing style in here. The writing really sucked me in. And to top it off, like the narration of the audiobook is incredible to me. I think the audiobook narrator did a fantastic job. And then I also loved our main character, Liz. I think that she was a great main character because she was a little bit naive, but for the most part, She was very smart. And I do like a character who's realistic like that, where they make naive choices and not just continuously smart choices. That just doesn't feel realistic to me. So she felt like a very realistic character. And the people around her, I think they were very realistic as well. Especially her best friend and her mother were very interesting characters in the way that they interact with the town, but also with Liz. And Liz's commentary / thoughts on that were really interesting and well done to me. I do think that like this town itself felt very real and very well fleshed out. So I didn't read into the author's bio, but I'm gonna assume that she must have been born into a small town similar to this, because it felt very real. It felt like a place that you would go and experience similar behaviors and thoughts. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what else this author does. I am excited to potentially have a new horror / thriller author to look out for, because this is their debut novel. So I'm very excited to see where this author goes with their writing, if they continue with horror. But I'll definitely pick up or anticipate their next book, whatever it is. So that was the third book that I have read for the Black-o-Ween-a-thon, and I think I'm gonna move into a few of the other books on my TBR because I really, really want to read White Horse. So from what I know about White Horse, basically our main character is Indigenous, and her mother abandoned her when she was like 2 years old, and she's had a grudge against her mother because of that abandonment forever. And the only thing that she knows is that her mother died at some point in her life, but because she wasn't around, she doesn't know exactly when that happened. And our main character's cousin reunites her with this bracelet that's like a family heirloom, and as soon as she puts the bracelet on, she starts to see horrific images of her mother, who is kind of trying to tell her like, something happened to me and you need to figure it out. So this whole story is supposed to be her seeing these horrific images and trying to piece them together to figure out what happened to her mother, meanwhile trying to reconcile her feelings about her mother and like if she even wants to figure this out. So I've actually listened to like maybe 5% of the book already, and I'm really liking the writing style of this one. It feels like it's gonna be another like 4 or 5 stars for me, but I'm only 5% in, so who knows. And hopefully I can finish that one by tomorrow. It's only a 4-hour audiobook, and I got the ALC from Libro. Libro really came through for me this month. I don't know if I've said this before, I get the librarian ones, and they really came through this month. I haven't really been getting anything on Libro the last couple of months because I haven't been super interested in what they were offering, but I mean, it's advanced listening copy, so I can't really complain. But they came through this month, and I have been very, very excited to listen to all these books. So hopefully I'll finish that in the next couple of days, and I'll just update you whenever I finish it, because I feel like I'm going to be reading a lot in this vlog. wish you could see my cat, not Olive, but Fitz. She's my other cat. Fitz and Olive are actually sisters, but Fitzy is very shy. So she like doesn't like you being near her unless you're on the couch or when we're actually laying down to go to bed, she will be all over me and like want to snuggle, but she doesn't like it when you're standing around her. She doesn't like when you like reach down to pet her. But she's like on the other side of the bed watching over to see when I'm done, because she doesn't want to be on the bed at the same time as me. Even though when I'm asleep, she loves to come up to my face and meow at me really loud. Anyway. Hi. Olive's here. So I finished White Horse and I ended up really liking it. I gave it 4 stars. I think it's interesting because it's classified as horror, and it is horrific. It has horrific moments to it, but it's definitely more about our character healing from the trauma of her mom leaving when she was 2 years old, and then seeing these horrific images of her mother as like this ghost form and being forced to sort of figure that out. There's a lot of like getting through trauma and understanding that trauma and the things that we hold on to. There's a lot of healing for this character, and there's a lot of discussions about white supremacy and colonization and racism. So there's a lot of those everyday horrors that I can see why this is classified as a horror. I did personally go into it thinking it was going to be a little bit more of a gory horror book, which is no fault of the marketing. I think it was just, I read a little too much into the synopsis for it. So like I said in my last update, our main character is really just trying to figure out what happened to her mother and why she's seeing these images, and like what she can do about figuring out what happened in laying her mom to rest. In the midst of that, there's a lot of familial things that start to be explored, and like generational traumas that start to be explored that are horrific in and of themselves. And our main character is really like having to come face to face with that, but she's also having to come face to face with letting go certain people in her life and letting go of the blame that she places on herself for different things that have happened in her life. But I'm really happy that I read it, and I look forward to reading other stuff by this author. I know that she already has a few books that have already been published. I'm not actually sure what I want to read next. I think I'm going to take one day off of reading because I've just like been in my head a lot and I can't focus today. So I haven't really been able to start anything, and like the few things that I have started on audiobook, they just haven't like kept my attention, and I totally think it's me, not the books at all. So I think I'm gonna take like a little break today and just watch YouTube videos and like try to catch up on booktube, because I am so behind on booktube. I'm so sorry to all my friends. I'm very behind on booktube. So I might take today to try to watch some things, but otherwise I will talk to y'all in my next update. Good morning. It's like the 10th. Is it the 10th? It's the 11th. Why is the 11th? You know when you see a date and you're like, this date feels important for some reason and you don't know why? Anyway, I'll figure that out later. But as you know, I've already finished like 4 books by this point. I wanted to update you about what I'm going to start the week reading. I didn't really read much yesterday. I just was not having a good day yesterday. My chronic pain has been really, really bad the last couple of weeks, but yesterday was a really bad day. Also, okay, so as you know, because I talked about it in the beginning of this video, we're trying to watch one like scary movie or television show a night. And I say scary loosely because my choices are like The Haunted Mansion and The Addams Family, because I am kind of a baby when it comes to visual horror. Anyway, point being, we decided to start Midnight Mass because I really loved The Haunting of Hill House, and it's the same director if you don't know. So we started Midnight Mass a couple days ago. We watched like a bunch of episodes in one day, and then yesterday we watched 2 episodes, maybe 2.5 episodes, and then we have 2 more left, which we'll probably watch, 1 tonight and 1 tomorrow because I get off late today. I am really enjoying it, but that being said, I have been waking up from, you know, little nightmares because of the show, which the show is not that horrific, much like The Haunting of Hill House. There's like, it's horror with these larger messages and like these characters really going through these emotionally impactful things. It's very similar to that. It's just there's a lot of jump scares in here, and also when you put religion in a horror setting, it really fucks me up. So I think that's what's doing it. But anyway, we're probably going to finish it in the next 2 days and then start watching my, my Disney Channel originals. Anyway, enough about the movies. I'm going to show you what I'm reading. So I am going to be starting Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia because I'm buddy reading this with Jayla. I just need to message her and make sure she was ready to start this week. Hello, I'm getting ready for work. I washed my hair today and I don't know why I did that before work. I was just like in my head about my hair feeling gross and like couldn't stop thinking about it, so I washed my hair and then realized I'm not gonna have enough time to actually like do my hair, so we're gonna have to figure that out. Anyway, I'm here to update you because I've read another book and I'm almost finished with another one. So I ended up starting Certain Dark Things, which is not the one that I finished, but I'm almost done with it. I am like 87% into it, so I'll probably finish it today. I'm really liking Certain Dark Things. I'm surprised. I was a little nervous, a little skeptical, if you will, because I really want to love Silvia Moreno Garcia, and there's only like one book of hers that I've really, really liked, and everything else that I've read by her, I've given either 2 or 3 stars. So I was nervous. I think this will probably be my favorite Silvia Moreno Garcia book, which makes me a little bit more excited to read Untamed Shores. But it's also completely different. I just really like her take on vampires. It's almost dystopian in a way. Like the world that they live in right now is not anything that we've ever seen. You know, she normally does like historical stuff, so I think this is really fun. But I'll talk more about that when I finish it. The book that I did finish is Goddess of Filth. So this is a novella. I listened to it last night while getting ready for bed and like doing some things before bed, and it was fine. I would give it like a 2.5 stars. I think the reason I'm disappointed is because I saw so many great reviews for it, and I'm not saying it's a bad book because I don't think it's a bad book. I just think it shouldn't have been a novella. There were so many things happening and it would have been a much better experience, I feel, if it were a little bit longer. Like, I think 300 pages would have made this book super interesting, like even more interesting, because the bones were there. Like, the foundation of this book is good, and I liked the possession story aspect. I did like the priest aspect of it, but it felt like everything just was happening all at once and I didn't have any context towards some of it, like the priest especially. So basically a character named Fernanda, she ends up getting possessed in the beginning of the story, and you get to see her friends' perspectives of it happening, and Fernanda's mom basically telling these girls that they can't see Fernanda anymore because it's their fault, they're brujas and they can't be friends. And then you do get to see Fernanda's perspective on the situation and like what that possession looks like for her. And the possession story is really interesting. It's unlike any other possession story I've ever like watched. I don't read a lot of possession storybooks. I really liked the fact that there was a lot of women's empowerment in here and like loving your body and not feeling shame towards being a sexual being. But it just was too much in too small of a page count. So for me, it was like a 2.5 stars. Because of that, I just was left wanting so much more and was like a little bit confused because things were just... I reread a few parts of it because I was like, how did we get from point A to point B so quickly? I don't understand. Part of me completely understands why people love this, because there is a lot about female friendship and female empowerment and like body positivity and sex positivity, which I love all of those things. But I would have just wanted it in a longer format. That's it. I didn't hate it. Didn't love it. So today I have to work and I have a really big meeting and it's near like the end of the day for us. So I could just sit and think about it all day. I just have the whole day to sit and think about it and be nervous about it. I think people need to schedule meetings earlier in the day, you know? Or don't schedule meetings at all. We don't need them. You can tell me in a memo, an email. I'll read it. You know, the thing is, I love fall and I love winter, but I don't love necessarily when it gets dark super early, which is kind of just a part of fall and winter. But it makes it hard for me to film any type of update. I finished certain dark things. I did think I was going to finish today, and I ended up finishing it at work before a meeting, which was nice to finish a book before the meeting because it was like a super kind of tense, awkward meeting, and it was nice to like finish something that I enjoyed right before it, so I was in a pretty good place, you know, I was in a pretty good mood. And then the meeting happened, shockingly. Maybe it's shocking, I don't know. It's shocking to me because I went in with really low expectations, and maybe that's what did it, but I'm giving this a 4 stars. I had a really good time. It was a short story, and then it got turned into this novel, which is like 270 pages. It definitely has aspects of it where I couldn't fully give it a 5 stars because I think there are too many POVs that were added into this that weren't necessary for where the story ended up. But this is Silvia Moreno Garcia's take on vampires, and they're like Aztec vampires, and like they're born. They're not made. And I think that's really interesting. And there's different species of vampires. I would really love to like have another novel from a different character where we get to learn more about the different vampires in this world, because you do get great backgrounds, which is something that I think is done pretty well in here. I guess I could see people thinking it's info dumpy, but she does like give really great background on this world and these vampires and like the different species of vampires and how they feed. If I remember correctly, like all vampire species in this book, in this world, are born. So the story follows a few different POVs, but the main ones are Atul, who is a vampire, but Domingo is human, and he ends up helping her try to escape Mexico City because a narco vampire is after her. So it's very fast paced. Her trying to get away, you're learning about the vampires, you're kind of learning about her backstory and why her sister and her mother died and why she's on the run. And then you get a little bit of Domingo's background, and it's cool because this is set in like a dystopian time. So there are interesting technologies, there's different enhancements, there's interesting creatures and animals and like modifications. But mostly I just really, really loved the vampire lore in here because it wasn't anything that I had ever read before. And actually in the back of the book, Silvia Moreno Garcia gives you like an appendix that has a lot of information on what she studied to build this lore. So I thought that was super interesting. I had a really fun time. I would say that this probably has to be one of my favorite of her books. So I'm so excited. But my battery's about to die, and this is going to be the end of this first part of my Black-o-Ween-a-thon / Black SSF-a-thon / just what I'm reading for Halloween. And if you made it this far, you can leave a Halloween emoji in the comments, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!